Have you ever awakened from a dream feeling as though you've just returned from somewhere real, a place more vivid and meaningful than the waking world itself? What if I told you that this sensation isn't just your imagination, but evidence of your soul's nightly journey to spiritual dimensions that exist beyond our physical reality? Edgar Cayce, often called America's most documented psychic, made an extraordinary claim through his thousands of trance readings that continues to challenge our understanding of consciousness to this day. According to Cayce, every single night when you fall asleep, your soul, your true eternal essence, actually separates from your physical body while remaining connected through what he described as a silver cord. This isn't mere metaphor or religious symbolism. This was documented as literal truth through Cayce's remarkable psychic abilities. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Has this ever happened to you? Perhaps you've experienced dreams so profound they seem to carry messages from beyond, or encountered deceased loved ones in dreams that felt unmistakably real. According to Cayce's extensive readings, over 14,000 of them meticulously recorded and preserved at the Association for Research and Enlightenment in Virginia Beach, these aren't simply dreams, but actual encounters happening in spiritual realms. What makes Cayce's revelations so compelling isn't just their consistency, but their remarkable detail. He described 3 distinct spiritual dimensions that your consciousness visits during sleep, each serving a specific purpose in your soul's evolution. The borderland realm, where recently deceased souls reside, the Akashic records, containing all knowledge across time, and for the most spiritually attuned, the realm of pure divine consciousness itself. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might fundamentally transform how you understand 1/3 of your existence, the time you spend asleep. That feeling of having lived another life in your dreams, of visiting places you've never been in this lifetime, of receiving wisdom that seems to come from somewhere beyond yourself. Cayce's readings suggest these aren't fantasies but glimpses of your soul's nightly adventures. Imagine for a moment, while your physical body rests, your eternal consciousness travels through spiritual dimensions, communicating with other souls, accessing universal wisdom, and even receiving divine guidance. This isn't science fiction or New Age speculation. It comes directly from thousands of documented readings given by a humble photographer from Kentucky, whose extraordinary gift allowed him to access what he called universal consciousness. What if tonight's sleep could be more than just physical rest? What if it could be a conscious gateway to spiritual growth, healing, and profound wisdom? The implications of Cayce's discoveries about sleep consciousness are staggering when you consider that every human on Earth might be experiencing these soul journeys nightly, whether they remember them or not. And the most fascinating aspect is yet to come as we explore. If you're fascinated by these spiritual insights from Edgar Cayce's work, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I explore the hidden truths of consciousness, spiritual development, and ancient wisdom that can transform your understanding of reality. The journey of discovering these profound truths began in the most unlikely place, Hopkinsville, Kentucky, in 1901. Edgar Cayce wasn't born with any special spiritual lineage or raised in esoteric traditions. He was simply a photographer, a man with a camera and an ordinary life, until something extraordinary awakened within him through a series of revelations that would transform not just his life, but our understanding of consciousness itself. Cayce discovered he could voluntarily enter deep trance states where his mind could access what he termed the universal consciousness, a vast repository of all knowledge that transcends time and space. Imagine the mindset shift required to accept such an unexpected gift. One day you're developing photographs in a darkroom, and next you're channeling information from beyond the physical realm that doctors, scientists, and scholars would later validate as inexplicably accurate. This hidden truth about Cayce's abilities wasn't something he sought out. It found him, much like the revelations about our sleeping consciousness that would later emerge through his readings. In one of his most profound documented sessions, Reading Nutter 57541, delivered in 1931, Cayce described in remarkable detail how our souls maintain a connection to our physical bodies during sleep through what he called a silver cord. Think of it as a spiritual umbilical cord, an energetic tether that ensures your soul can journey through various dimensions while maintaining its connection to your sleeping form. This silver cord is the lifeline that guarantees your safe return each morning, the bridge between spiritual exploration and physical existence. The implications of this revelation are staggering when you consider your own journey through the night. That moment when you drift into sleep isn't merely consciousness shutting down. It's consciousness expanding, traveling, exploring realms beyond physical limitation, while remaining safely connected to your body through this metaphysical silver cord. What makes Cayce's work so compelling is that these weren't casual observations or untested theories. Each session was meticulously documented, with stenographers recording every word while he lay in trance. Medical professionals, scientists and researchers witnessed and verified these sessions. The Association for Research and Enlightenment in Virginia Beach houses over 14,000 of these carefully preserved readings, a testament to the rigorous documentation behind what might otherwise sound like fantastical claims. During these trance states, Cayce could actually observe and report on what happens to human consciousness during sleep. He wasn't speculating or theorizing. He was witnessing the soul's nightly adventures with a clarity that allowed him to describe them in extraordinary detail. The borderland realms where we might encounter departed loved ones, the cosmic library of the Akashic records, the highest realms of pure divine consciousness. Now I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring the first of these three remarkable dimensions that Cayce described, a realm that might explain those vivid dreams where you've encountered loved ones who have passed on. A dimension that exists just beyond the veil of our physical world, where souls in transition reside and where communication between the living and those who have crossed over becomes possible during our sleep. Have you ever had a dream so vivid involving someone who has passed that it felt more like a visitation than a dream? Write in the comments, "I've had a spiritual visitation," if you've experienced this phenomenon yourself. The first of these dimensions Cayce described is called the borderland, a spiritual realm that exists as a transitional space between our physical world and higher spiritual planes. Think of it as the waiting room of the afterlife, where souls who have recently departed their physical bodies often reside before moving on to higher spiritual dimensions. This revelation transforms our understanding of what happens after death, suggesting that our loved ones aren't instantly gone forever, but exist in a state that remains accessible to us during our sleep. What's truly fascinating about the borderland is that it's not just a realm of passive existence. It's a place of active communication and exchange between souls. The veil between worlds thins during sleep, allowing your journeying consciousness to interact with those who have crossed over but haven't yet ascended to higher spiritual planes. These aren't simply comforting fantasies our minds create to process grief. According to Cayce's documented readings, they're authentic encounters with the consciousness of those we've loved. Take the Remarkable case documented in Cayce's reading 20671, where a businessman from Virginia had lost his family fortune and found himself in financial ruins. During what most would dismiss as just a dream, this man encountered his deceased father, who provided specific, detailed business advice. The impact of this nighttime consultation was profound. When the businessman followed this guidance upon waking, he not only recovered from his financial disaster, but went on to build an even greater business empire than before. Behind the scenes of what appeared to be an ordinary dream was an actual consultation taking place in the borderland dimension, a father's continued love and wisdom extending beyond the grave to guide his son. This wasn't an isolated incident in Cayce's files, but one of many documented cases where practical, verifiable information came through these nocturnal encounters that produced real-world results. What's most compelling about Cayce's work is that he didn't interpret these experiences as metaphorical or symbolic. His readings consistently verified that these encounters represent genuine soul-to-soul communication. The businessman wasn't imagining his father's presence or creating a psychological projection. He was literally communicating with his father's consciousness in a dimension where both could meet while his physical body slept. This profound insight offers a revolutionary perspective on death itself. Rather than representing a final end or unbridgeable separation, death emerges as merely a transition to another form of existence, one that remains periodically accessible to us during our sleep state. The implications for healing grief alone are staggering, suggesting that the connections we forge with others continue beyond physical separation. And yet, the borderland is just the first of 3 dimensions Cayce described. While many souls routinely visit this initial realm during sleep, some are capable of journeying even deeper into spiritual reality, accessing a cosmic repository of knowledge that contains every thought, action, and event that has ever occurred or will occur throughout all of human history. A dimension where your soul can potentially access information that could transform your understanding of your own purpose and path. If you've ever awakened with knowledge or insight that seemed to come from somewhere beyond yourself, type cosmic wisdom in the comments below. Beyond the borderland lies an even more extraordinary dimension that Cayce discovered through his readings, one that holds particular significance for those seeking deeper wisdom and revelations about their life purpose. This second realm is what Cayce called the Akashic Records, a cosmic library containing the complete history of every soul's journey across all lifetimes. Imagine a repository of universal knowledge where every thought, experience, and action that has ever occurred throughout human history is permanently recorded and accessible. Unlike the borderland, which most souls visit routinely during sleep, reaching the Akashic records requires a different level of spiritual attunement. According to Cayce, more spiritually developed individuals can access this dimension during deep sleep states, allowing their consciousness to explore this vast archive of wisdom. The transformative potential of such access is almost beyond comprehension. Imagine being able to retrieve specific knowledge about your own past lives, your soul's purpose, or solutions to seemingly impossible problems. One of the most compelling cases in Cayce's files documents precisely this kind of miraculous intervention. In 1944, a woman whose son suffered from what doctors had diagnosed as an incurable blood disorder came to Cayce in desperation. That night, after following Cayce's guidance on sleep preparation, she experienced what she initially thought was just a particularly vivid dream. In this dream state journey, she found herself guided through a vast library by a luminous being who directed her to a specific book containing detailed information about an herbal remedy. The revelation she experienced represents one of the most profound aspects of soul travel during sleep. the ability to access hidden knowledge that can create tangible transformation in waking life. Upon awakening, this mother remembered every ingredient and preparation method with perfect clarity, despite having no prior knowledge of herbal medicine. When she prepared this remedy exactly as shown in her Akashic Records experience, her son made a complete recovery within weeks, confounding his physicians who had pronounced his condition terminal. This journey to the cosmic library represents a profound paradigm shift in how we might understand the potential of our sleeping consciousness. It suggests that solutions to our most pressing problems, whether health crises, relationship challenges, or life direction questions, might be accessible through properly attuned sleep states that allow our souls to retrieve specific wisdom from this universal repository. Yet even the Akashic Records aren't the highest dimension Cayce described in his readings. For the most spiritually evolved souls, there exists a third realm of pure spirit, a dimension where consciousness can commune directly with what Cayce called the creative forces, or what many would recognize as God consciousness itself. This highest level of spiritual connection during sleep is where divine revelation, prophecy, and spiritual missions for earthly incarnation are received. In this exalted realm, the soul experiences a direct communion with divine intelligence, a state beyond words, where wisdom flows not as information, but as pure knowing. The journey from the borderland to the Akashic Records and ultimately to this realm of pure spirit represents an ascending pathway of spiritual development that unfolds during our nightly soul travels. If you've ever awakened with an insight so profound it seemed to come from somewhere beyond yourself, type "divine inspiration" in the comments below. Cayce's own experiences with this third dimension reveal the extraordinary potential of these spiritual realms. On the night of October 19, 1935, Cayce's soul ascended to this highest level of spiritual consciousness during sleep, a journey that resulted in one of the most documented and verified prophetic visions in modern history. What makes this particular revelation so compelling is that Cayce described in meticulous detail a coming global conflict involving nations that weren't even enemies at the time. In this profound state of divine communion, he witnessed scenes of massive destruction across Europe, the rise of a dictator with a distinctive mustache, and America being drawn into a worldwide conflict that would reshape global politics. Remember, this was 1935, 4 years before World War II officially began. Yet every element of this prophetic vision, received during Cayce's soul travel to the highest spiritual dimension, manifested with startling accuracy in the years that followed. Don't miss our explorations into the mysteries of consciousness. Hit the subscribe button to join our community of spiritual seekers uncovering timeless wisdom from sources like Edgar Cayce and beyond. The revelation behind these extraordinary experiences is perhaps the most transformative aspect of Cayce's work on sleep consciousness. According to his readings, this ability to access higher dimensions during sleep isn't reserved for psychics or specially gifted individuals like himself. The profound truth is that every human soul possesses the potential to reach these elevated states of consciousness while their physical body sleeps. This democratization of spiritual access represents a paradigm shift in how we might understand human potential. The capacity for divine communion, accessing universal knowledge, and connecting with those who have crossed over isn't limited to mystics or religious figures. It's your birthright as a conscious being. The journey to these higher dimensions isn't about special powers, but about proper preparation and intention. In Reading Najib 5754, Cayce emphasized a critical insight that puts this extraordinary potential within everyone's reach. Your thoughts and intentions before sleep directly determine which spiritual dimension your soul can access during its nightly journey. This reveals the hidden truth that while your soul naturally separates from your body during sleep, the quality of that experience and the realms you can reach depend on your mindset and spiritual focus before you close your eyes. Souls burdened with fear, anger, or materialistic concerns remain trapped in the lower astral planes, unable to ascend to the healing temples, the Akashic records, or realms of divine communion. Conversely, those who approach sleep with thoughts centered on love, service to others, and spiritual growth can potentially reach the highest dimensions accessible to human consciousness. This powerful relationship between intention and spiritual access gives each of us tremendous agency in shaping our soul's nightly experiences. The practical implication is profound. The moments before sleep represent a critical threshold, a gateway that you can approach either unconsciously or with deliberate spiritual preparation. By shifting your pre-sleep focus from worldly concerns to spiritual ideals, you can potentially transform ordinary sleep into extraordinary journeys of healing, wisdom, and divine connection. If you've ever intentionally prepared your mind or set spiritual intentions before sleep and found your dreams more meaningful as a result, comment "Conscious Dreamer" below. This powerful connection between intention and spiritual access reveals a profound truth about the architecture of consciousness itself. Those who cultivate positive emotions, particularly selfless love, compassion, and genuine desire for spiritual growth, naturally ascend to higher dimensions during their sleep journeys. Meanwhile, souls preoccupied with fear, anger, or materialistic concerns find themselves limited to lower realms that reflect these heavier energetic states. The mindset shift required here isn't complicated, yet its impact on your soul's nightly experiences can be revolutionary. A particularly moving case from Cayce's files illustrates this principle perfectly. In 1943, at the height of World War II, a dedicated nurse from Virginia Beach was working herself to exhaustion, caring for wounded soldiers returning from battle. Night after night, she would collapse into bed, emotionally drained, yet still carrying thoughts of healing and compassion for her patients. Despite her physical exhaustion, her spiritual focus remained on service to others, creating the precise conditions for accessing higher dimensions during sleep. One night, after particularly heartfelt prayers for guidance in helping a soldier with especially severe wounds, she experienced what she initially dismissed as just a vivid dream. In this experience, she found herself in what appeared to be a luminous healing temple where beings of light demonstrated advanced healing techniques specifically applicable to her patient's injuries. The revelation she received wasn't vague or symbolic. It included precise pressure points, specific herbal compresses, and exact treatment protocols she had never been trained in. Behind the scenes of what appeared to be a dream was an actual training session in one of the spiritual healing temples that Cayce confirmed exist in the higher dimensions. When this nurse applied these techniques to her patient the next day, his recovery accelerated dramatically, surprising the attending physicians. Reading the Basa 33951 confirmed that her soul had indeed visited a spiritual healing temple during sleep, receiving actual training that translated into tangible healing results in the physical world. What makes this case so significant is that it reveals another hidden truth about your soul's nightly journeys. They aren't random wanderings or meaningless dreams. According to Cayce's readings, these experiences are carefully orchestrated by your higher self to provide exactly the spiritual experiences, healing, and guidance needed for your soul's development at any given time. Your soul doesn't just float aimlessly through spiritual realms, it follows a purposeful itinerary designed for your spiritual evolution. This orchestration explains why sometimes you wake with exactly the insight needed for a current life challenge. or why dreams occasionally provide solutions to problems you weren't even consciously addressing. It suggests a profound intelligence operating behind the scenes of your consciousness, an aspect of yourself that knows precisely what spiritual nourishment your soul requires at each stage of your journey. The decision to approach sleep as a sacred opportunity rather than merely physical rest opens doorways to experiences that can accelerate your spiritual growth in ways that might otherwise take decades of conscious effort. Your higher self is constantly arranging these nighttime opportunities for healing, wisdom, and spiritual communion. The question is whether you're creating the conditions to remember and benefit from these orchestrated journeys. If you've ever awakened with precisely the guidance or insight you needed for a challenge you were facing, type "divine timing" in the comments below. The architecture of these nightly soul journeys becomes even more fascinating when we explore what Cayce revealed in Reading Journal 362:18. According to this documented reading, your soul's nightly travels aren't simply spontaneous wanderings, but are connected to a grand design you created before birth. Cayce explained that before incarnating into physical form, each soul creates what he called a spiritual blueprint, a detailed plan for its earthly mission, complete with lessons to be learned, growth to be achieved, and specific contributions to make. This revelation transforms our understanding of life, purpose, and destiny. Your deepest aspirations, natural talents, and even the challenges you face aren't random. They're elements of this pre-birth blueprint you designed for your soul's evolution. The profound insight Cayce offered is that during sleep, your soul regularly returns to review this blueprint, receive guidance from spiritual teachers, and gather the strength needed to fulfill your divine purpose. These nightly returns to your spiritual blueprint explain those moments when you wake with renewed clarity about your life direction or sudden certainty about decisions that previously confused you. Behind the scenes, your soul has been consulting the original map of your journey, realigning with your highest intentions and bringing back guidance for the road ahead. Yet here's where Cayce identified a critical disconnect in most people's experience. Every single night offers profound opportunities for spiritual growth, healing, and divine revelation that most individuals completely miss. The transformative potential of these soul journeys often goes unrealized because most people approach sleep unconsciously, allowing their minds to remain cluttered with worldly concerns instead of preparing for spiritual communion. Think about your own approach to sleep. Do you typically fall into bed with your mind still racing through the day's problems, scrolling through social media until the last moment, or worrying about tomorrow's challenges? This mental clutter creates energetic static that limits your soul's ability to access higher dimensions and, perhaps more critically, prevents you from remembering the guidance and healing you receive during these journeys. The breakthrough in Cayce's work came when he provided specific, practical techniques for enhancing these soul travel experiences, practices still taught today at the Edgar Cayce Foundation in Virginia Beach. Before sleep, he recommended a period of quiet meditation focusing on a spiritual ideal, a quality like compassion, wisdom, or service that you wish to embody more fully. This meditation clears the mental static and elevates your consciousness to resonate with higher dimensions. Following this meditation, a simple prayer requesting guidance for your soul's highest good further prepares your consciousness for meaningful spiritual experiences. This isn't about religious dogma, but about setting clear intentions for your soul's nightly journey. Cayce described this practice as creating a bridge between your waking consciousness and the spiritual insights your soul receives while traveling, making it more likely you'll remember and integrate these experiences upon waking. The impact of implementing these practices can be immediate and profound. Many who follow Cayce's sleep preparation Techniques report more meaningful dreams, clearer guidance, and even conscious awareness during their soul's journeys. If you've tried meditation or prayer before sleep and noticed a difference in your dream experiences, comment "intentional dreaming" below. Cayce's revelations about soul travel weren't all ethereal light and divine wisdom. With characteristic pragmatism, he included a crucial warning in Reading 2941-36 that serves as a sobering counterbalance to the extraordinary potential of these spiritual journeys. Just as there are helpful and harmful people in physical life, the spiritual dimensions contain both benevolent guides and entities that don't have your best interests at heart. This spiritual discernment represents a critical aspect of safe soul travel that many modern teachings on astral projection dangerously overlook. The spiritual realms, particularly the lower astral dimensions, contain entities that feed on fear and confusion, beings that can potentially drain your spiritual energy or even attempt to influence your thoughts and emotions after you return to your physical body. This isn't meant to invoke fear, but rather to emphasize the importance of proper spiritual protection before embarking on these soul journeys. Cayce was specific about the protection technique he recommended. Before sleep, he taught the practice of surrounding yourself with what he called the white light of Christ consciousness, a visualization of pure, protective, spiritual energy encircling your entire being. This protective light acts as a spiritual shield that allows positive encounters while preventing harmful entities from attaching to or influencing your soul during its travels. He also emphasized the importance of requesting guidance and protection from your spiritual guides and guardian angels, beings of light who can escort your soul safely through the various dimensions it might visit during sleep. This combination of visualization and invocation creates a spiritual safeguard that allows for exploration without unnecessary risk. A documented case from 1938 illustrates why this protection is essential. A young man had been experimenting with astral projection techniques he'd learned from an occult book, but without any spiritual preparation or protection practices. For several weeks, he projected his consciousness out of his body while sleeping, exploring what he thought were merely interesting dream realms, the consequences of his unprotected soul. Travel soon manifested as increasingly terrifying nightmares, chronic fatigue that didn't improve with sleep, and a persistent feeling of being watched by hostile presences. By the time he consulted Cayce, he was experiencing such severe energy drainage that his physical health was deteriorating rapidly. In Reading, Dutch 27-210, Cayce identified that the young man's soul had become entangled with parasitic entities in a lower astral dimension. These entities had essentially attached themselves to his energy field and were feeding on his life force during and after his soul journeys. The imagery behind this revelation is reminiscent of the hidden dangers that can exist in any uncharted territory when explored without proper guidance or protection. Cayce provided specific prayers, visualization techniques, and spiritual practices that successfully freed the man from these attachments and restored his spiritual and physical vitality. This case serves as a powerful reminder that while soul travel offers extraordinary opportunities for growth and enlightenment, it must be approached with appropriate spiritual preparation and protection. If you've ever felt the presence of negative energy during sleep or upon waking and use protection techniques to clear it, share your experience with the phrase "spiritual protection" in the comments. The restorative techniques Cayce provided for this young man reveal a profound understanding of spiritual healing that transcends conventional approaches. The prayers and visualizations he prescribed weren't merely psychological comfort measures, but precise spiritual technologies designed to sever energetic attachments and repair breaches in the young man's spiritual energy field. These interventions included specific visualization sequences where the man would imagine brilliant white light dissolving dark cords connected to his solar plexus, combined with affirmations that reclaimed his spiritual sovereignty. The transformation was remarkable. Within 3 weeks of implementing these practices before sleep, the young man's nightmares ceased, his energy levels rebounded, and the oppressive sense of being watched vanished completely. This case demonstrates not only the potential risks of unprotected soul travel, but also the extraordinary healing possible when proper spiritual remedies are applied. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring what may be one of Cayce's most revolutionary insights about sleep. Consciousness, the direct connection between our soul's nightly journeys and our physical health. In reading 2941, Cayce explained that many physical ailments actually originate from spiritual disturbances encountered during soul travel. This represents a paradigm shift in how we might understand the root causes of disease and healing. When your soul encounters negative entities or traumatic scenes in the astral dimensions, it can return to the physical body, carrying energetic imprints that manifest as illness, chronic pain, or emotional disturbances. These spiritual disruptions create energetic blockages that eventually materialize as physical symptoms, often in ways that conventional medicine struggles to diagnose or treat effectively. This revelation helps explain why some conditions seem to appear suddenly without apparent physical cause, or why certain ailments resist traditional treatment approaches. The root catalyst may exist not in the physical body, but in disturbed, energetic patterns your soul encountered during its nocturnal journeys and carried back to your physical form. What's particularly fascinating about Cayce's approach to healing is that he didn't dismiss conventional medicine. Instead, he integrated spiritual cleansing practices with physical remedies to address both the symptoms and their underlying spiritual causes. His comprehensive treatment protocols often included specific prayers, visualization techniques, and energetic cleansing rituals, alongside herbal remedies, dietary adjustments, and physical therapies. This integrative approach represents a holistic healing paradigm that bridges the artificial divide between spiritual and physical well-being. For conditions that originated during soul travel, treating only the physical manifestation without addressing the spiritual disturbance would be like removing weeds without extracting their roots, providing temporary relief but allowing the problem to eventually return. Cayce's healing protocols didn't just target obvious spiritual conditions, but extended to seemingly mundane physical ailments, from chronic digestive issues and migraines to skin conditions and joint pain. For each, he would often identify specific spiritual experiences during sleep that had created the energetic template for the physical manifestation, then prescribe practices to heal both dimensions simultaneously. If you've ever noticed a connection between your dream experiences and your physical well-being, either positive or negative, share your experience with the phrase "dream healing" in the comments. Just as negative spiritual encounters can manifest as physical ailments, positive experiences in higher dimensions can create seemingly miraculous healing effects in the physical body. The case of Martha Robertson, documented in Reading 31242, stands as one of the most compelling examples of this extraordinary mind-body connection. Martha suffered from a degenerative spinal condition that had left her bedridden and in constant pain. Conventional medicine had offered little hope beyond managing her symptoms as her condition progressively worsened. After learning Cayce's sleep preparation techniques, Martha began a nightly practice of meditation, prayer, and visualization before sleep. She didn't specifically request healing, but focused instead on spiritual communion and service to others. What unfolded over the subsequent weeks reveals the hidden potential that exists within these spiritual dimensions, Martha began experiencing what she initially described as unusually vivid dreams. In these experiences, she found herself in a luminous healing temple, surrounded by beings who worked directly on her spine with pure light energy. These weren't vague or symbolic experiences. She could feel specific sensations as these beings manipulated her spiritual body in ways that somehow translated to her physical form. The transformation that followed defies conventional medical understanding. After just 3 weeks of these nocturnal healing sessions, Martha began experiencing noticeable improvements in her physical condition. What makes this case particularly remarkable is that subsequent X-rays showed her spine actually regenerating in ways that completely baffled her doctors. The medical imaging revealed structural improvements that, according to her physicians, should have been physiologically impossible. Within 6 months, Martha was completely healed and remained healthy for the rest of her long life. This case, like hundreds of others in Cayce's files, demonstrates that your soul's experiences during sleep can directly impact your physical reality in ways that transcend our current understanding of medicine. The implications for health and healing are profound, suggesting that accessing higher spiritual dimensions during sleep might activate healing potentials beyond the reach of conventional treatments alone. The catalyst for such miraculous healing appears to be the soul's ability to bring back high-frequency energetic patterns from these spiritual dimensions, patterns that can restructure the physical body according to more harmonious templates. This process bypasses many of the limitations we typically associate with physical healing and explains why some individuals experience what medicine terms spontaneous remissions that have no apparent physical cause. Beyond physical healing, Cayce revealed an even more profound purpose for our soul's nightly journeys. In Redding's Shama 57545, he explained that advanced souls use sleep not just for healing and guidance, but for what he called karmic adjustment. This revolutionary concept suggests that during deep sleep, your soul can actually travel to scenes from past lifetimes to heal unresolved traumas, forgive old enemies, and complete unfinished spiritual lessons. This process of karmic adjustment accelerates your soul's evolution and can resolve patterns that have been affecting you for centuries, explaining why certain transformative dreams can create immediate and permanent shifts in long-standing emotional or psychological issues. If you've ever experienced a profound dream that seemed to resolve a deep-seated fear or emotional pattern, share your story with Karmic Healing in the comments. The mechanism behind this karmic adjustment reveals a profound aspect of spiritual healing that transcends conventional therapy approaches. During the deepest phases of sleep, your soul can literally travel back to pivotal moments from past incarnations, scenes where significant trauma, unresolved conflict, or interrupted soul growth occurred. Unlike passive remembering, this process involves active participation in these scenes with your current level of consciousness and spiritual development. This transformative journey allows you to bring healing to moments that have shaped your soul across centuries, confronting old fears with new courage, extending forgiveness where hatred once festered, and completing spiritual lessons that were interrupted by premature death or other circumstances. The ripple effects of these healing interventions extend forward through time, dissolving karmic patterns that may have followed you through multiple lifetimes. A particularly illuminating case from Cayce's files demonstrates the extraordinary power of this process. In 1940, a woman came to Cayce suffering from an inexplicable phobia of water so severe she couldn't even take a bath without experiencing panic attacks. What made her case especially puzzling was that she had no traumatic water experiences in her current lifetime that could explain the intensity of her fear. No near-drowning incidents, no water-related accidents. Nothing in her personal history provided a rational explanation for her debilitating phobia. This disconnect between current life experiences and deeply rooted fears represents one of the hidden truths that conventional psychology often struggles to address. Why do some people develop intense phobias or emotional reactions with no apparent cause in their present life history? The answer, according to Cayce's readings, often lies in experiences from previous incarnations that have left energetic imprints on the soul. In reading Dubejma 2391, Cayce revealed that this woman's soul carried the trauma of drowning in a past life as a young mother, trying to save her children during a devastating flood. The reading described in vivid detail how she had managed to place her children on a floating piece of debris before being swept away by the current and drowning while watching them drift out of reach. This traumatic death, and particularly the anguish of not knowing if her children survived, had created such a powerful emotional imprint that it carried forward into her present incarnation as an intense fear of water. The blueprint for healing this past life trauma wasn't about merely identifying its source, but creating an opportunity for resolution. Following Cayce's guidance on sleep preparation and intention setting, the woman focused specifically on healing this traumatic memory before sleep each night. Through this intentional process, her soul was able to return to that past life scene during sleep and experience a healing resolution where she successfully saved her children in the spiritual dimension. If you've ever wondered whether a persistent fear or emotional pattern might be connected to experiences from before this lifetime, share your thoughts with Past Life Echo in the comments. The resolution of this woman's water phobia reveals the transformative power of conscious soul travel during sleep. What makes this case so remarkable is the immediacy and completeness of the healing. The morning after experiencing this healing resolution in her dream state, the woman woke to discover that her lifelong water phobia had completely vanished. She tested this transformation by running a bath, something that would have previously triggered intense panic attacks, and found she could now engage with water without any trace of fear. This wasn't a gradual improvement requiring months of therapy or systematic desensitization. The healing was immediate and permanent. Within weeks, she had even learned to swim, something she had previously believed impossible. This case demonstrates the extraordinary potential for healing that spans multiple lifetimes through the sacred portal of sleep consciousness. What makes this approach to healing so revolutionary is that it addresses the root spiritual cause rather than merely managing symptoms. While conventional therapy might have helped her cope with her water phobia through gradual exposure and anxiety management techniques, Cayce's approach allowed her to heal the actual traumatic imprint that had been carried by her soul across lifetimes. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by considering the profound opportunity that lies before us each night. Every time you close your eyes to sleep, you're not just resting your physical body, but potentially accessing infinite wisdom, receiving divine healing, communing with loved ones who have passed on, and accelerating your spiritual evolution in ways that might take decades through ordinary waking consciousness alone. Sleep isn't merely a biological necessity, but a daily spiritual opportunity. A portal to dimensions where time operates differently and transformation can occur with extraordinary efficiency. A single profound experience in these higher dimensions can resolve issues that might require years of conscious work in our physical reality. This perspective transforms how we might approach the third of our lives we spend sleeping. Rather than viewing these hours as merely downtime for physical restoration, we can recognize them as potentially the most spiritually productive part of our day, if we approach them with the right preparation and intention. The revolutionary insight From Cayce's work isn't whether your soul travels during sleep. His documented readings confirm that it does, regardless of whether you're aware of it or remember the experiences. The more important question is whether you'll begin preparing consciously for these sacred journeys and learning to remember and integrate the spiritual treasures your soul encounters each night. This shift in perspective represents a profound mindset transformation, from viewing sleep as passive to recognizing it as an active opportunity for spiritual growth. By implementing the simple practices Cayce prescribed for sleep preparation, you can potentially access healing, wisdom, and spiritual communion that might otherwise remain beyond your reach in waking consciousness. If you've already started implementing any form of conscious preparation before sleep or are inspired to begin this practice tonight, share your commitment with conscious sleep in the comments. The practical approach Cayce recommended for accessing these spiritual dimensions begins with a simple but powerful practice each night before sleep. He emphasized setting a clear spiritual intention, not just a vague wish for good dreams, but a specific focus for your soul's journey. This might be healing for a particular condition, guidance for a decision you're facing, or communion with your higher self for deeper understanding of your life purpose. After establishing this intention, Cayce taught the vital practice of surrounding yourself with protective white light, visualizing a luminous cocoon of pure spiritual energy that extends about 3 feet around your entire body. This protection isn't merely defensive, but creates a resonance that naturally attunes your consciousness to higher spiritual frequencies, making it more likely your soul will access elevated dimensions during its nightly journey. The profound insight behind these practices is captured in one of Cayce's most quoted statements: "Dreams are today's answers to tomorrow's questions." This seemingly simple phrase contains a revolutionary perspective on consciousness, suggesting that your soul already has access to the wisdom, healing, and guidance you seek in waking life. The answers to your most pressing questions, the solutions to your challenges, the healing for your deepest wounds, all already exist within your higher consciousness. The catalyst for transformation isn't finding new information, but creating the conditions where this innate wisdom can flow from your higher self to your waking awareness. Sleep represents the most accessible portal for this wisdom transfer, a daily opportunity to bypass the limitations of rational mind and ego to receive direct insights from your soul. This perspective completely reimagines the relationship between your conscious and unconscious mind. Rather than viewing dreams as random neural firings or symbolic expressions of repressed desires, Cayce's work suggests they can be intentional communications from your higher self, providing exactly the guidance, healing, and wisdom you need for your current life challenges. The decision to implement these simple practices before sleep, setting clear intentions, surrounding yourself with protective light, and requesting guidance for your highest good, can potentially transform an ordinary night's sleep into a sacred journey of spiritual revelation. By creating these optimal conditions, you're essentially opening a channel for your higher self to communicate more directly with your waking consciousness. The hidden truth behind Cayce's work on sleep consciousness is that the wisdom needed for your life's journey isn't found externally, but already exists within your own multidimensional being. Your soul already knows the path forward, already understands the purpose behind your challenges, already holds the blueprint for your healing and evolution. The key is creating the bridge that allows this wisdom to cross the threshold into your waking awareness. By approaching sleep as a sacred opportunity for spiritual communion rather than mere physical rest, you can potentially transform this daily necessity into one of the most powerful catalysts for your spiritual growth and healing. The journey of your soul during sleep isn't an esoteric curiosity, but a practical pathway to living with greater wisdom, purpose, and alignment in your waking hours. If something within you resonates with this understanding of sleep as a spiritual gateway, type Soul Traveler in the comments below. As we reach the end of this exploration into what your soul actually sees while you sleep, I hope you've glimpsed the extraordinary potential that awaits you each night. Edgar Cayce's revelations remind us that the boundaries between worlds thin when we close our eyes, offering us daily opportunities for healing, wisdom, and spiritual connection that most of us never fully realize. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, perhaps you'll remember to set an intention for your soul's journey. Maybe you'll visualize that protective white light surrounding you, or request guidance for something you're facing in your life. The sacred realms Cayce described await your conscious participation. If this perspective on sleep consciousness has resonated with you, I'd love to know you made it to the end of our journey together. Simply comment "Conscious Dreamer" below, so I know these insights found their way to the right souls. Your thoughts and experiences add immeasurable value to this community of seekers. If you found value in these revelations about your soul's nightly adventures, consider leaving a like on this video. It helps others discover these transformative insights that might otherwise remain hidden from them. For those ready to continue this journey of spiritual exploration, I've created another video that builds perfectly on what you've learned today about accessing higher consciousness. It explores the practical techniques Cayce prescribed for remembering and interpreting your spiritual dreams. Click right here and join me there to deepen your understanding of conscious dreaming and how to bring its wisdom into your daily life. Sweet dreams. And may your soul's journey tonight bring you exactly the healing, wisdom, and divine guidance you need for your highest good.